hit the button. We're live. I'm in a completely different space. This is so far feeling really weird. I have my girlfriend in the room in real time, and that there's nobody ever in the room when I'm streaming, so this is already quite different. But hope all of you are doing well. It's morning time back home in the US, but it's afternoon here. I'm in Portugal right now, but I wanted to get back on these streams. I've missed it, and clearly quite a few of you have too. Elijah, definitely, maybe Kyle. I don't know about that. Let me know if the audio and everything is good. I did quite a bit of testing beforehand, trying to see if everything would work, but doing it from the Mac is a little tricky with a single screen, so hopefully it's all good. Jaden, good afternoon, dude. Or good morning, I guess, for you. It's super early. Awesome. Glad to hear that, Kyle. Thanks for confirming all as well. So really, what I wanted to do today was talk about an email I got. It's actually been more than a week ago, but I'm hoping to turn this into kind of a weekly topic that I'm going to call Inbox. And essentially what we'll do is cover a question. Often I get questions that are much more in-depth and a lot more difficult to answer than just a single email reply. And often the answer would benefit lots of other people too. So I do feel like the idea and the topic of picking the right page builder is well discussed. But really, my hope was that it's kind of like I said in my Facebook post, it's like the age-old question of what's for dinner, which is actually on our minds right now. But just the idea that there's a lot to cover in this. So I made a list of a bunch of different topics, and I am really looking to just kind of communicate with all of you, get your feedback, talk about some of my thoughts on it, and go from there. Yeah, there's a slight blur. I think it's this light over my head. I don't know if there's a way to turn that off. Let's see. Oh wait, actually turn that one on. Let's see if that's any better. Yeah, that forward light is probably better.
What about this? That's off now. You want it?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. I have my production assistant, aka girlfriend here. All right, cool. So let's see, Cinco de Mayo. Oh yeah, it is Cinco de Mayo.
I'm looking at Korean barbecue.
Kyle said tacos for dinner. She said Korean barbecue. Both options good. We have been all over the place the last couple of weeks traveling, and we had this Hungarian restaurant. Oh boy, it was so good. It was fantastic. So lots of other food options from our small little Florida town when you're traveling all over the place. Let's see, Stratos, good to see you this afternoon. Adam as well. Got everybody popping in the chat. I appreciate that. Me being in Portugal, this is later in the day, so I'm curious who is here, where you're from. Drop in the chat. Let's get this party rocking. Kyle, are you for sure doing tacos for dinner? Let's see. Jaden says, I've been thinking about whether or not it's worth having multiple builders. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly part of this conversation, as I know there's a lot of people that are straddling the line and have multiple different builders that they're focusing on across different client projects, picking one, which I think, kind of depends on your workflow, if that makes sense for you. Hello from London, Daniel. Awesome. Spent quite a few days in London right over my birthday late last month, which was really great. It was sunny on my birthday in London in April. It was amazing. Tacos every night, Holmes. You ate one meal with me. What was it? Yes, absolutely. It was a good meal, actually. I was just thinking about that. I've been trying to avoid getting food that we can get easily back home, and we have a bunch of Mexican restaurants near us, a bunch of taco options, and so we kind of try to make it our mission not to do the same things that we can get back home. Which is a little bit of a blessing and a curse in some ways, where it's like if you find something really good, like this Hungarian place, we don't have anything that good at home, so I guess we just got to travel more. Daniel says, amazing, not sunny now. I'm not surprised. We're going to transit through London for one more afternoon early next week to get back home, and I am sure it's going to be cold and gray. But we're staying near Hyde Park, so I'm hoping to maybe walk around the park a little bit, even if it's a little gray. So let's see, we've been going, coming up on 5 minutes now, so YouTube notifications should be out and about. First of all, I appreciate all of you in here so far. So like I said, the topic is the email message that I got about picking the right builder. So I'm not going to give away, give any personal details, but essentially what I wanted to do is pull that up real quick so I can briefly walk over some of the notes. Okay. Oh, the other thing is, shout out to Elijah. I know you're in the chat. We're coming a long way on PyCalendar Pro. We're going to be releasing something pretty cool here soon. So if you're interested in PyCalendar and those updates, make sure you're signed up for the email list on pycalendar.com. Just want to give a shout out to Elijah. I'm trying to get him on the stream, and I'm really hopeful that we can do that at some point here in the near future. And I'm trying to organize getting him on. I also want to do another episode with possibly him and Kevin as well. I think that would be a lot of fun. Kyle says PyCalendar Pro is PCP. I know. We kind of stumbled into that and we're like, let's send it. We pretty much just do Oxygen everything. Oh, yeah, Jaden, I know you're kind of on the fence of a few different things with that. So that's something we're gonna touch on. Okay, so this email is from someone who is considering the switch to Gutenberg, Generate Press, and Generate Blocks. Their agency is looking to shift away from Aveda and Beaver Builder. They've been dissatisfied with them due to performance and UI issues. So what I want to do with this particular conversation is essentially just talk about this from the perspective of more high-level conversations, not like, oh, well, this builder does this and this, but more about what specific features you should be looking for and things to consider so that long-term you make the right choice. And when we all inevitably have to come back around and go through this decision ourselves, that we have the things to think about and really consider. So not necessarily in comparing the current crop of builders that people are picking from, not necessarily just flat out recommending Bricks or Generate Press or Quickly or Oxygen or whatever, but more this conversation being set up in a way where it's almost more evergreen is my hope here. Adam Lowe says Elijah and Jonathan on the same stream. I'm not sure the internet can handle it. I know that's actually funny you say that because we were concerned that Elijah's actual internet wouldn't be able to handle it. So we've been talking about that for a little while, but I am really trying hard to get him on the stream. Should be hopefully within the next couple of weeks. I'm gonna put him on the spot and say hoping for 2 weeks from today. We'll see. Put the pressure on. He hasn't said anything in chat, so I'm hoping he's furiously switching over to this to say, no, I can't do that. Or, yes, I can do that. So, like I said, let's see if there's anything else. This person has gone through the slew of everything, looking at Oxygen, Breakdance. Then they have a rudimentary level of CSS with little coding knowledge. It's totally fair. That's pretty much all of us when we first discovered Oxygen and Bricks. They were a little bit concerned when they loaded Oxygen and realized it was a bit over their head. They were intrigued how much they could learn by it, which is true. We all learned so much using Oxygen. Let's see. They were concerned about the number of add-ons that it takes to really accentuate the product, which I think is a good consideration. Not so much true these days, I wouldn't say, as maybe 18 months ago. And then watched one of my videos where I said I was realigning my agency work to use native, Gutenberg, Generate Press, and Generate Blocks. Then they started investigating that particular combination and saw other people suggesting Gutenberg with Astra. I haven't used Astra, but hopefully somebody in the chat can comment on that. We'll see. Kyle, I think he does. He may have had access to AI tools before I knew it, but as far as I'm aware, he's legit. All right, Elijah, that's perfect. So realistically, 2 weeks. Daniel says, longtime Elementor user also purchased an LTD Bricks license, recently purchased Breakdance. Yeah, it's easy to get shiny object syndrome. I had a moment of that, like probably, I guess what's it been, 10 days ago or so since we left London. I was sitting in the train station and we had about 2 hours before the train left, but the weather wasn't that great and it was cold, so we're just kind of like hunkered down inside the train station. And I had this feeling, I was just like, gosh, I really need to spend the time to get a handle on Quickly. And it was like, that was that shiny object syndrome kicking in. I was like, this is really interesting. It's almost like, the Generate Blocks and Oxygen combined. And as I loaded it up and started playing with it a little bit, to be fair, my internet at that particular place was terrible. So I really couldn't load their demo setup, whatever it is, like an InstaWP. It was like it loaded, but it wasn't great enough for me, or fast enough for me to really feel like I was giving it a fair shot. But yeah, even I get that shiny object syndrome quite often, actually. Quite often. It's kind of like me. I'm like, I'm gonna buy a jet ski, so I search YouTube for jet ski stuff. Go off on those tangents. So it's easy to do, especially because there's so many good builders out there. Stratos says Astra is a solid theme but lacks some simple settings. Also, every time I try to suggest a feature, I feel like I try to convince 8-year-olds and they always say no. That's a funny criticism. So you're saying that developers aren't very responsive to feedback, or other people say that it doesn't need it? I like the speed of Breakdance, the speed of the builder, that is nice and snappy compared to Elementor, so I can be more productive. Yeah, that's actually something that was a big part of the decision process for me with moving to generate blocks, is that it's so fast. Most of the time, like especially the backend performance is really, really good. You can get in cases where the page content is so heavy that it really doesn't, it doesn't exactly shine in those cases. But for the most part, it's really, really good. But to be fair, I mean, Oxygen has improved that, and so I think Bricks is pretty good. I think Bricks just had an update, right? Let me look at that. I think there was just an update. Bricks Builder performance. Let's see. More performance enhancements according to 1.72. Let's see. 1.7.2. Trying to see. I thought there was something where there was an issue with performance. Performance. Control F this piece. Yeah, I'm not sure. I guess people who use Bricks a little bit more would have some more input on that. Bricks did have big lag problems with the builder, but I think they fixed that with an update. Yeah, that's what I thought so too. I think every builder is going to have some kind of performance issues as your page content starts to get massive. That's just the way it is. Mystic Man started using code with basic blocks to make tabs show more block scrolling. Yeah, for sure. That stream that I did with Taylor, I think it was the second episode of Inside Link, where we talked about the custom blocks is really cool. And if you're the right candidate for that, if you're somebody that knows the code well enough, custom blocks, I think, is, if we consider the aspect of like what you're going to do long-term stability-wise and not have to refactor your site again in the future if you change content, I think that custom blocks is pretty much the best way to go. Because of the fact that it's just raw PHP and HTML, a little bit of JSON, it's like you could pretty much port that to any site. Like you could do custom blocks with any builder currently, which is really cool. So from that perspective, it's really cool, but the reality is that it's difficult to do unless you know PHP well enough. Often you need some JavaScript, got to have some CSS. So it's a lot of front-end work. I could see a case where you end up with a lot of blocks that you've already built, and then you can just kind of have that library. So maybe it's a bunch of front-end work, but then you can reuse that content for the foreseeable future. That seems really likely. Or Adam says or use Pinegrow. I should probably get you on the stream, Adam, and we should talk about Pinegrow because I've not spent any real time with it. And that's something that is worth exploring a bit, being versed in that. Ashik says, latest 1.7.3 for Bricks Builder lag issues resolved. Oh, cool. Let's see, 1.7.3 is fairly recent, right? When was that? 1.7.3 was April 12th. So yeah, just about 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago. Oh, well, actually, it's funny. In the changelog, it says nothing major this time, just a little bug fix. Sounds more major to me. 1.7.2 says more performance improvements. So there's that. Any thoughts on WP Extended? Let's see. WP Extended. Ultimate Toolkit for WordPress? Let's take a look. I have not seen this before. Looking at this, I wish I could share my screen easily. I don't exactly know without showing like the like transition with my Mac screen profiles and the like OBS screen and like getting the infinite mirror and stuff. It's a little bit tricky with a single screen. At home, I have two, so it's super easy to switch between screens. Daniel says, waiting for CSS Grid to come to Breakdance. Is it planned to come? I haven't looked. I'm hopeful that we get some more concrete stuff with Generate Blocks, because there was a GitHub issue opened a couple of weeks ago, which you can see, it's public. And they talked about, it just simply says something along the lines of like, let's investigate Grid, which would be really cool. I imagine their implementation is going to take quite a while, because they're probably going to think about that really, really heavily. It's going to take them a long time, I bet. But it's probably going to be really good, and I would argue it's probably going to be one of the best implementations of Grid that's available. Hello from Switzerland, Claudio. Awesome. Hello, hello. Strata says, the updates on Bricks scare me more than the updates on Oxygen layout-based. Yeah, I would be curious for more info on that. Taylor says, you brought all your mic setup. Yeah, this right here is my mic from home. I didn't bring my actual camera. I thought about bringing the full camera setup, but it was going to be such a huge, like, bulky piece of kit. And I, as you know, Taylor, tried to go super lightweight on this trip. It's funny because we've actually acquired quite a bit more stuff as we've come. We've got extra books, and it seems like clothes are multiplying somehow. There's so much different things that we started out light, and it's gotten heavier as we've gone along. Switch hosting, Oxygen plugin, crash site, went with Generate Premium and basic GP blocks. It's actually interesting because I was thinking about making a Facebook post on this, but I was going to give a shout out to Oxygen and to Elijah and Oxygen. I had to recently update a site from I think it was Oxygen 3.2 or maybe 3.3.2, something like that, all the way up to like 4.5, worked flawlessly. Such a massive jump, so many different features and improvements and updates, so many different things could have gone wrong in that update, and the site just worked perfectly, other than the fact that there was some weird plugin issues with updating from WordPress. I don't even know what it was, like 5.5 or something up to 6.2, and Oxygen worked fine. The site was totally functional. So I don't know what would be the hosting thing. Sounds like maybe a crummy host. Damn, Adam, really? That's super interesting. Oxygen updates have been remarkably stable. I can't trust Bricks to not bork a site on any given day. That's crazy. So that's actually one of my discussion points that I have in here in my list of all the things that I wanted to talk about in this choosing a page builder was, let's see, what did I write? I said, what pace of updates and new features are important to you, or is backwards compatibility and long-term stability more important to you? I think that kind of goes along with exactly what it is. So it's like, having the ability to update the sites from many versions old and it just worked perfectly is something that I think is really, really important. Kevin says, am I the only one who is able to update Brick sites without issues? Can't remember the last time I had an issue. Yeah. I should fire up a Bricks install and let it ride a little bit and then try to run updates. I would be curious though, Kevin. I would imagine a lot of these issues could be related to hosting and the other things outside of it. Adam says, Bricks has had so many broken updates. So interesting. I created a website with Bricks when we had 1.2. When the 1.3 release, they changed the elements. Then in another update, they add the container. More than 5 times now have had to fix the layout. Crazy. That seems really not ideal. Yeah, I'd be curious if it's beta releases people are updating to, or is it full, like release candidates or even full stable versions? That would be very important to note, is what versions you're jumping to. I think I'm going to fire up a Bricks install when I get back home next week and build a site, just something basic, and then just see how it goes. Taylor, my pure HTML sites don't break from updates. Yeah, I don't think HTML5 gets updated that often. Darwin updated Bricks several times in various WP installs without any breakage. Yeah, I think it's really situational. It's probably a vocal minority. Full stable, Adam says. Broken updates is a bit of a misnomer. Maybe regressions. So yeah, like the site still functions, but there's problems. I mean, there were times when there were issues that I experienced with Oxygen, like the like, migrating across sites, across domains, and sometimes some updates where like, if you typed in like 100% width, then when you changed over and loaded the site again, that little 100% would be just some like crazy string of letters and numbers. And all you had to do was just like switch it back to something else and then change it back to percentage and it would go to 100% again. But there was some weird like encoding issue that I definitely remember experiencing, which wasn't that bad, but it was typically in like media queries. And it was often when I was trying to take a site live. So I'd have to go through the pages and try to fix them. That was frustrating. I can't remember how long it's been since that happens though. Kyle says, I'll see some things Kevin does with bricks and get inspired to try it, but every time I do, I just don't feel happy using bricks. Just feels like I'm in a hotel room and not a home. It's an interesting analogy. That's how I felt firing up Quickly. I've said that before. I was also watching some of the Quickly videos on some of their features and stuff, and it just seems like they have so many features. Like I have a Quickly install fired up right here, and when I go to a class, it's like, I want to add a class. So I click the class. I was like, oh, well, okay. So there's already a class on there assigned of some random heading -CEB1138. It's not really a useful class name. So then I hover over the little paperclip next to it. It says virtual classes. I'm like, what the hell is a virtual class? Then I go next to it and it says global classes. Like, man, it's weird. It doesn't have that same intuitiveness. That's another piece of the conversation that I wanted to talk about, is like the intuitiveness of a builder. Is intuitiveness a word? Intuitivity? Intuitiveness? Oh, I guess intuitive is. Yeah. Okay. So that was one of my like early questions in this. I just came up with a bunch of different things to kind of talk about this. Let's see. So what did I actually write? I know I put that in here. Well, anyway, the point was the intuitiveness of your builder is something I think that's really important. Kevin, I try to build in Gutenberg. I'm in a homeless shelter. That's funny. Yeah, so in terms of the intuitiveness, I think that it comes down to a couple different things. So I think that intuitiveness is related to the kind of overwhelm factor that you get when you first load up the builder and all the different options. Is the idea of loading to a totally blank white screen like Oxygen and Bricks kind of do, rather than something like Generate Press, which is, relatively opinionated, but at least there's something functional when you have just like a basic default site. And then just other, intuitiveness kind of goes along with the knowledge that you would have. Like, do you know what a div is, and what about a class? I think if you came into something like Quickly and you didn't know what a class was, you probably just abandoned ship immediately, because it's just like, well, that's what I'm faced with right away is ID and class. So it's a little bit tough. Let's see. Taylor says, Gutenberg blocks are the only thing keeping me with WordPress. I would love to try Astra, but I love blocks so much. No other CMS has that type of editor. Oh, Astro? Is that something else? Must be something different. Bricks, Quickly, Pinegrow are complex as all get out, but once you learn your way around, it's bananas. I'll take power flexibility over intuitiveness any day. That's a fair point, Adam. Yeah, I think that's probably worth considering. Is the inspiration for this particular topic and this stream was this person said that they have a rudimentary knowledge of custom code solutions. So something like Pinegrow or what is it called? Oh, Block Studio. Jumping into something like Block Studio or Pinegrow is pretty much not an option. So you're faced with whatever else is left out there. You really do need some level of knowledge. And I think a big part of this is like, was it Daniel said that, spent a bunch of time with Elementor and starting to graduate forward? I think that's just like part of the natural evolution, is as you start to build, then you hit these walls and you're like, all right, well, what's the next step? I could learn a little bit of CSS, could learn maybe some basic PHP, try to get what I need done. And then you're like, oh, well, Elementor doesn't allow me to do that. So what is the next evolution? And then it's like, okay, well, Oxygen. And then you're like, oh, there's Bricks. And then there's Quickly. There's so many options. Astro is a JS framework, but can't use WordPress with it. Oh, I see. Speaking of stuff that's difficult to use with WordPress, for me, this is totally unrelated. I absolutely love the Material Design framework, and Material Web 3 is coming. I'm super excited about that. And I really want to implement that in WordPress, not for any particular reason, but other than I just love material design for some reason. It's not really that practical, but I want to do it. I explored that a little bit, but just haven't had enough time to really dig into it just yet. Elijah says, lots of people have graduated from Oxygen to more developer-centric workflows, e.g. hand coding stuff. I mean, I think Taylor and probably Adam are examples of that. Taylor in particular. Taylor has spent so much time with Oxygen and really elevated that. I love P. You mean you love PHP, I assume? Does anyone use or know Live Canvas? No, not I. So we've covered quite a few of these topics sort of organically, which is really interesting. I was curious with those of you that are heavily invested in the Bricks ecosystem, how much kind of compared to Oxygen is necessary to really get the most out of Bricks in terms of paid third-party add-ons. Like in the early days of Oxygen, you really needed Hydrogen Pack and a couple other plugins like that maybe added like another $70 or $120 to your initial $99 purchase. Nowadays, you don't really need that because so many of the Hydrogen Pack things are built right in. But I was curious, in the Bricks ecosystem, is that still the case? Obviously, most people are going to buy automatic CSS and probably frames. Kevin says Bricks requires pretty much 0 add-ons. That's good to know. I guess because so much of what, again, like I just said with Hydrogen Pack and stuff like that, you already have built in copy and paste and cross-site, that kind of thing. Keyboard shortcuts. Are keyboard shortcuts native in Bricks? I would assume they are. I found Bricks add-ons to be nice to have more than have to have. Okay, cool. Just custom plugin and CMB2. Shortcuts are native. Okay, cool. Yeah. Oxygen does pretty well without add-ons now too. Yeah, for sure. I think that's been the case for some time now, which is honestly why I feel like the Advanced Scripts plugin kind of died on the vine, which is just talk about WordPress backdrops. WP Code Box for the win. The reason why I brought that up is because I was curious, like, what kind of budget are you working with? For many countries, that's going to be a consideration as kind of the initial investment to really get started with the tools. And I was curious how many different things you would need. I remember that being a topic of conversation in the Oxygen Facebook group fairly often, was like, what do you mean I have to buy all these other things to make this work? And then especially for people that didn't have heavy code knowledge, you're going to buy the subscription to Sridhar's WP Dev Design and Oxy Extras and all those other things. So like, I know Bricks Extras exists and those sorts of things, but it's like, well, I guess you don't really need that kind of thing. The other thing that I was curious about is, or wanted to talk about, is what level of support and community engagement is important to you as you're picking a builder. And that's something that I think is really important because Oxygen's community was really great. There was a strong period of time where it was like me and Kevin and Stratos and Crockett. There was so many people making content, and the Facebook group was popping off all the time. I assume that's probably true in the Bricks space. Pretty much the only Bricks content creators I know of are Kevin and Crockett. But outside of that, I was curious what that community looks like. I don't know what the kind of space looks like for Quickly. For Generate Press and Generate Blocks, the thing is there's such a huge archive of forum posts from many, many years ago. Some of them are outdated, but many of them are still quite applicable. And the cool thing about that is a quick Google search is often enough to get you exactly what you want. And that's something that that kind of frustrated me about Oxygen, and probably part of the reason why this channel even exists is because I'd have to figure out the answer on my own, and then I'd kind of publish it that way a little bit. But with Generate Press and Generate Blocks, you can typically just Google what you need, and the answer pops up in their forum. Let's see. The only add-on for Bricks I have is dplugin Swift's Knife for Bricks because I want to try the HTML copy-paste feature. It works great. Oh, cool. Does that also bring in the Emmet abbreviations like Oxygen has? I thought the Swiss Knife added Emmet. Or maybe I'm confusing that with the other Oxygen Recoda or whatever. New stream challenge, building an entire site with classic editor. I actually was considering trying a full site editor stream. I kind of delved into it the other day and was like, I mean, you could get somewhere depending on what you need, but I got frustrated with it pretty quickly. So I think if I were to do something like that, Taylor, would probably be full site amazing. A full site, amazing. I read Adam's comment, full site editing challenge. Kevin says, Bricks community is growing quickly and has great engagement. I'd like to see the Oxygen community get back up to that as well. Yeah, for sure. I think it would be very welcome. And actually, that's another thing I was going to say about the generate press, generate blocks thing is if, a support community is something that you're really after, the Facebook group is disappointingly dead. I think because that support forum is their kind of official avenue. So if you have a license, you're going to go there and get help from the official team. But it is a little bit bummer because, all of us or many of us are so active on Facebook that would be nice. ACSS Inner Circle, you get most of the answers to the questions. Yeah, for sure. There's enough people in there that you're going to get your question answered. Recoded 2 for Oxygen looks great, but I wish most of those were built into Oxygen. I think that's something that would be interesting to talk about with Elijah is kind of that, what's the word, like the thought process of what makes it in and what makes it doesn't, what doesn't make it in. I think Elijah's a really analytical dude, and I would be really curious to hear about that. Him and I have talked about it, but it'd be cool as a topic to bring that to the chat and the stream. All right, so other questions. So another thing to consider is a large library of pre-built blocks and sections. So it's funny how many of the tutorials and basic site examples from so many of us Oxygen creators would end up with the, what was it called? Not automatic. That first default theme. I forget what it was. What's that thing called? Atomic. That's what it is. Not automatic. Yeah. But what I was going to say is the large library of pre-built blocks and sections. That's something that actually for generate blocks and for, the blocks users is actually really good. The generate blocks library is really great. Shout out to Mike Oliver and a couple of the other people who have really contributed super heavily for that. And that's something that I've actually started to use a little bit, for tutorial content, like in courses and stuff like that. It's just so nice to have those pre-built sections. I don't typically rely on them because most of the time for new site builds, it's going to be a Figma design that you're starting off from. But that is something that's really nice. I know for Bricks, we have Frames, Kevin's Frames product. Actually, Kevin invited me to that, and I haven't had a chance to... yeah, Stratos, you're right. I haven't had a chance to dig into Frames, but I fully intend to do that once I'm back home at my native setup. All right, sorry about that. Let's fix it.
Did Taylor ask you to do that?
Yeah, they were like, why is your thing open?
I just figured it was Taylor because he's OCD like me.
Oh, no, it was Kyle and Stratos.
Oh.
There we go. Hopefully that satisfies. Oh, Danielle said it too. A bunch of people. I actually didn't notice. That's funny. Let's see. Okay, sorry. Going back and chat a little bit. Bricks and Oxygen both need native SaaS support. That bottle is full of vodka. Yes, indeed. So if your users would know what to do with SaaS, seems like a power user thing that 90% wouldn't ever touch. I wouldn't say so, says Kevin. There are so many simple concepts that people would use, and the best part is that CSS works in SaaS, so even if people don't know it, they can write vanilla, so it wouldn't get in the way or make it more difficult. Yeah, so it's really interesting because in WP Codebox is where I've dabbled in SaaS, over the last few months, and I will say that the nesting stuff is really great, being able to combine selectors and build. However, it can get really difficult really fast to figure out where you are kind of in your nested selectors. But a lot of the other stuff that I'm sure Kevin is a big advocate for, like mix-ins and all the other cool stuff, that would be worth exploring more for sure. I haven't looked into it yet, and Kevin can probably shed some light, but do preprocessors like Sass stand to suffer the same churn as JavaScript frameworks? Doesn't seem like as hot of a space, but I worry it might get some. Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, if you try to keep it as native as possible, I guess that's true with JavaScript too, though. Yeah, it's a tough one. We've touched on so many of these things already. So the pacing of updates is something that I wanted to bring up as well. So it's like we kind of have three different approaches where it's like, for instance, generate blocks and generate press, their updates are very seldom. After years and years, it's like generate blocks is still on 1.7, generate press is on like 3 point something. What is it now? I'm going to check real quick. I forget. 3.2. So there's not been huge leaps. Oh, no way. Does Quickly... I have Quickly installed on this site, the Quickly theme, and it hides your add new theme button? Are you joking? No way. This is so weird. Oh, maybe this is just like a WordPress 6.2 thing. Why would it do that? I don't like this. If I go to themes, there's no add new, so I can only search installed. Oh, it's because I'm on an InstaWP site. That's why. Okay, never mind. I'm in a install that's not my own. Never mind. Okay, so never mind what I was going to do. I was going to look at the generate press theme WordPress. I can just go to the WordPress theme repo. 3.3. There we go. I was close. I was talking about the pace of updates, though, is what I was thinking about. It's like with generate press and generate blocks, you have meticulous, really methodical approach to updates. You barely ever get an update. Typically, when you do, it's going to be something really useful, like accessibility improvements was a recent update for like the search field and that kind of thing. So it's like you really have to consider the pace of updates that you need and valuing like stability and backwards compatibility, which I think is a big consideration and why so many features between generate press and generate blocks are kind of like weirdly tied together in some ways, but also like perfectly aligned in other ways, like global colors, for instance. So that's something that worth considering. Oxygen moves at a relatively decent pace. Sometimes I've seen it draw criticism lately for the updates not having like meat, I guess, but it's like, well, what did you want? Are you upvoting the stuff on GitHub? I don't know. But then Bricks seems like it's moving at a decent pace. I also saw people were commenting that Bricks' pace is slowing down. Is that true? I'm curious from the people really deep in that ecosystem if you feel like the pace is slowing down. There's only 2 people on the Bricks team, right? I think that's the case. Danielle says, I guess my question would be, I have to assume the different page builders are better geared towards particular projects. Like, what would I use for, say, a restaurant site or someone selling products? Yeah, I mean, that's a fair consideration because it's like for something like, generate press, you could use it for pretty much everything. I think that's actually an interesting misconception is that people give it really only credence for basic sites, which is not true because the Elements built in to the Pro version, the Elements is just a complete like templating engine. It's just like Oxygen templates minus the like nesting inside of each other. So I really think that it depends on what your level of, I don't know. I think it depends heavily on what you value most. Actually, what I intended to do, I was originally going to do this in the format of a video and kind of develop like a weighting system and really have you kind of like assign a point value to what you consider as like the most important aspects, and it develop a weight and maybe make a recommendation for a builder. But like I said from the beginning, I wanted this to be more evergreen and not be so much more like, precise and make a specific recommendation. So I think in terms of like the bigger question for me is more about keeping that consistency. Jaden in here earlier was talking about straddling other builders and like wanting to move between one builder to another. But for me, it's like, I really want to have my entire stack completely consistent. So no matter if it's me or one of my developers goes into a site, it's like, this is pretty much as consistent as it can possibly be. There's deviation now because of course there's some sites that are on Oxygen still and many sites that are on Generate Press. So there's a little bit of a brain switching element there. But in terms of keeping it super consistent, I don't want Bricks and Oxygen and Quickly, all these different sites. However, I don't really think that any product excels in the way that people want when it comes to WooCommerce. And also, I don't think I would be building a restaurant site anyway, because you're going to need to do ordering and all that stuff, unless it maybe ties into Uber Eats and GitHub, Grubhub. That's funny. Wonder how often developers make that mistake, calling it Grubhub instead of GitHub. Kevin says, I don't think Bricks has slowed down, more like they've been working on some larger things that take more time. Okay, that's good to hear. Shadow says, they mentioned they'll update every week. Yeah. I think people know how I feel, but I have Alan. One bottleneck with both Bricks and Oxygen, in my opinion, is setting up multilingual sites. I'm using WPML since years ago and had big trouble setting it up. Finally, today, I nailed it with Bricks. That's interesting because the Translate Press I've used with Oxygen extensively, and Translate Press works beautifully. I don't know if maybe WPML has a different set of features that perhaps the Translate Press doesn't have, but Translate Press is freaking amazing. Any kind of translation that you need to do, I really think that that's probably the standout plugin. I also am slightly partial to them because I met their team at WordCamp Europe last year, and it was really great. But it also works really cleanly in GeneratePress too. So I mean, two radically different builder approaches to builders, and it works perfectly fine both in Oxygen and in GeneratePress. I'm over hearing about Elementor and tired of people entertaining it as a legitimate builder. I appreciate how candid your opinions are. Vodka swig, Kyle. Adam says, love Translate Press. The only thing I don't like is that I can't set different pages for other languages. Yeah, but it allows you to, it has the URL string, right? So it is technically a different page. You just want to specifically control what page is which. Darwin says, when ACSS will be ready for Gutenberg. I mean, I'm definitely going to be looking at that. Me and Kevin talked about that a little bit. I know it's coming. That will be very exciting. The thing that I actually was looking at a little bit is the ACSS 2.5 has Gutenberg support. The thing is that I was really I spent some time kind of looking at possible solutions to bring the class control feature a little bit more prominently in Gutenberg, just to try to see if maybe you could move that panel back to the top of the screen or have some kind of keyboard shortcut or pop-up or something. Because if you're going to use a framework like ACSS or the new core framework in Gutenberg, first of all, the stuff doesn't load in the editor currently, at least if I'm not mistaken. But at least when I tried it, it didn't load at that time. And then having to scroll down, I mean, even just in general, I'll admit that scrolling down to the advanced tab and expanding that shit is really annoying. Taylor says, what about proper developers who would talk crap on the fact you use a builder to create a website? I'd love to hear their arguments when the code output is more or less the same. I don't see an issue. The issue is when the code output is trash. Yeah, let's get this conversation going. That's what I wanted. Toss some fire on this convo. Claudia says, my thing was doing visual design changes after I added the translation. I think you might be interested in Translate Press then, because the thing that's so cool about that is you're actually just translating strings of words. So if you translate welcome to my site or whatever, you just do that once, and anywhere that particular string appears across your whole site, it translates for you. I don't know if that's how WPML works, but I would have to assume that that it's pretty similar. I thought that was so cool because in the case, I've talked about this before, in the case that I really needed it when I first discovered it, was these people had they had 8 different languages and they had translators on staff, so they wanted to be able to do it manually, and this was a great way to do it. Elijah, we get so many comments on our Facebook ads to the tune of real developers just use PHP. Gatekeeping is not the vibe. I saw a funny thing on Twitter. I was scrolling a couple days ago, and it was this screenshot of a Stack Overflow JS conversation, and there was a bit of PHP inside of it, and they were like, JavaScript devs are rediscovering PHP and they don't know what to do. I thought that was funny because PHP is dope. I wish I knew it better. I'm gonna my plan later this year, once I get these courses nailed down that I have is to spend more time on PHP. Try to make some content on that. Dynamic data and, all that kind of stuff. There's so much you can do with it. That's what's so cool to me. Some people do just like to talk trash at them. Yep, that's for damn sure. Real developers being elitist jerks, use the tool that gets you the results you want. Yeah, so that was another question that's tied into what's happening in chat right now. What level of precision do you require when it comes to proper HTML, semantics, and accessibility? I think accessibility is non-negotiable, so I probably shouldn't even have included that in there. But what level of precision do you require when it comes to proper HTML, semantics, clean code output, that kind of thing? Some people are willing to sacrifice that. And maybe that's not the correct direction if you feel, but if your site speed is good, I think that's more the key. Actually, it's really interesting because Google just dropped that as a in Lighthouse. What is it? 3? Lighthouse 3 signals. Oh, you can't just type in Lighthouse 3 signals because then it brings up, first of all, GPSs, actual lighthouses. All right. Page speed insights, Google 3 signals, 2023. I forget what it just dropped. I can't find it. That's annoying. Should have been so much easier to find this. Finding old stuff. The last time I really messed around with PHP outside of WordPress was form processing. There's so much you can do with it. Like conditions is just like so powerful. Basic conditions for ACF fields and whether content is present. I think that's what's super cool about it. Yeah, Adam, I will say I agree with that comment. 2 kilobytes of divs, but if like in Elementor where you put the class on a heading and it puts the class 2 divs up and there's a span in between them, that to me is really just like so frustrating. I can't believe that was ever allowed to ship. I wonder if really the issue with Elementor was that it was like almost hampered by its own success. It got so huge so quickly. I don't really know. I think you just need to develop that into an acronym, Kevin. SCM, SMC, SMC maybe? You say it enough that you could probably save yourself a pretty significant chunk of time over the next couple months and years. Scalability, maintainability, consistency. It'd be easier, SCM. You just gotta maybe put a little lower third when you say it for the first time. So everybody's like, oh yeah, gotcha, SCM. Or SMC. I think SCM flows easier. Scalability, consistency, maintainability. Doesn't sound quite the same though. I don't think I like it as much. Elijah, I'm on board for anything that improves your workflow, results in good experiences, and doesn't require a build step. Yeah, it's interesting because technically when you save, you're building, right, in Oxygen. It's converting it from the JSON into HTML, CSS, right? So it's technically a build step, but you don't really have to sit there and wait for it, but it does it so quickly. Another thing that I wanted to mention is, I guess there's a couple of different things. Exportability and portability and how locked in you are to a particular builder. I think that's another really important consideration. We've talked about, scalability, maintainability, that kind of thing is really directly tied into this too, I think. And SMC could have a really bad other meaning. Yeah. yeah, totally good, Taylor. Good catch. Checking the acronyms is really important. That is very, very important. SCM, then I guess it is. That one's less ambiguous, I would say. Yeah, I think that was the topic of lock-in and how restricted you are is something that was really, really common in Oxygen conversations, I think Sridhar had a blog post about it that was many, many years old about the lock-in problem. But I think it's true of pretty much everything. Like Kevin talked about was it the stream last week? I think you were talking about, Kevin, using, not Bootstrap, Tailwind, and how it would be really, really difficult to get your site away from, I forget what the word was. You used annihilate, decimate, something like that. Decimates your HTML. It'd be really, really difficult to strip your HTML off of that sort of thing. But I think that's really true. Stratos, no one's going to change a builder without redoing the website style. There would almost be no reason to. Why would you ever need to do that? I think that was kind of the pretty much the crux of Sridhar's article, was like, it's not that big of a deal. And the site's not going to stop functioning too. I think that's another important consideration, is like, even if you pick one of these and you decide maybe it's not the right tool for you, your site's not going to stop functioning. They have lightning fingers, super fast keyboard response. Dirty HTML. You used a fancier word than that. You said something like it annihilates your HTML, or like decimates, something like that. The other thing I was wondering about is, I think there's like talking about the topic of evolution, is like how you're going to eventually discover advanced custom fields and or metabox, and that's going to open up a whole new world. And then you're just going to have your mind blown about all the possibilities that exist in that way, and deciding how that might be something that can be integrated into your workflow. So obviously Bricks and Oxygen probably excel the most, except maybe if you're using something like Pinegrow, or I guess not so much Block Studio anymore, because it's pulled itself away from ACF and instead uses its own native fields. But still, the point applies that you're going to find these other tools like that, and it's going to extend even further. And that's the case where you might consider migrating builders. It's like I've said before many, many times, Oxygen 2.0 came out, and I was like, oh boy, I'm rebuilding these sites at my own time and my own expense, because I just so desperately need these controls. I've rebuilt my personal site in another builder with the same redesign. Yeah, I know you did that. Did you do that for any reason other than you just wanted it to be in Generate Press, Generate Blocks? Pinegrow still needs ACF. They only support native WP functions. Ah, okay. Got it. That makes sense. I'm intrigued by Pinegrow. Sometimes I watch your videos, Adam, and I'm like, this is too much for me right now. My brain is already too full most of the time. The thing about opinions is that some are backed by realtors. Some aren't. How many examples do we need to see if classes being better than ID'd styling, for example? Oh, thanks, Adam. I'll definitely check that out. Developing a course and taking a course at the same time. Sounds like a good combo. I wanted to look over this email real quick again and just double check that there aren't other things that I'm missing here. The other reason we liked Oxygen was for how, considering the interface, how condensed the interface was, and the ability through add-ons and do keyboard commands. We kind of already touched on that. In terms of keyboard shortcuts, we already talked about Bricks' native. Gutenberg is fairly good. Although I was thinking it would be nice to have kind of like the hydrogen pack controls, where you could just press like H for heading. And another thing we need desperately is wrap with div or container. That I really, really want. It's just so frustrating to have to like add a container and drag it back in, because you have to do that so often. Divception. This person says, we really don't like the Gutenberg interface because it seems like we'll be clicking and scrolling even more with it. I may be mistaken. Yeah, I mean, clicking and scrolling more. I'm trying to think about that. Would you be clicking and scrolling more? I mean, I think that you're probably going to be clicking and scrolling the exact same amount unless you're manipulating classes all the time. I don't feel that I have any more or less clicking and scrolling to be done than like spending a bunch of time with Oxygen. I don't really think that's an important consideration. I think the comfortability with the interface just grows over time, and I think the vast majority of people that say that they don't like the Gutenberg interface, well, first of all, let me clarify. I should specify it. When I'm talking about the Gutenberg interface, I'm talking about with Generate Blocks installed. Even the free version just makes it miles and miles ahead of the default Gutenberg. But those people who are criticizing it haven't spent any time with that. The next thing is going to be, but Jonathan, you have to add on a plugin. Yeah, it's fair. But it makes it 10 times better, so do it. Can I shed some additional light on why I chose da-da-da-da? We just need to make a decision and move on, but I don't want to make a poor choice. This person says, and I seem to be very well known and respected. Huh. That's cool. So in terms of making a decision and moving on, I really think that that's important. I think you can get this kind of like decision fatigue. You can sit there all day long and try to evaluate all the different options. I think you need to probably pick your top 3 most desired features, and then just pick whichever one meets those. And really, I think there's always going to be another shiny builder. There's always going to be something else that people are switching to and moving to and saying is the best possible thing ever. Some days something's going to come along and eclipse Bricks and Oxygen, just like, Bricks came along and slightly disrupted the Oxygen ecosystem. There's a lot to be said for what else is coming next. Quickly came along, that caused a little bump in the road for some people. Anyone coming to Athens next month for WordCamp? Unfortunately, I'm not, but Taylor is. You guys will have to send me a video or a picture of everybody. I would really love to see you guys all hanging out. I would really enjoy to go, but us being here already, we don't really have space this summer to come back. It's also really expensive for us to get to Athens, unfortunately. It was quite affordable to get to London, which is why we did that, making a big loop here, but other than that, no. I am going to go to WordCamp US, though. Got the ticket for that, got the hotel booked, so I'm for sure going to WordCamp US. I hope to see any of you based in the US or people that are going. I would love to see you there. That'd be great. Adam, yeah, you pretty much just summarized exactly what I said. You still have sites on Genesis until this client wants to rebuild. Just leave them as is. No reason to keep chasing the perfect tech stack. Too time consuming. Exactly. I think that's something that I am very intentional. I try to be very intentional about not chasing the fanciest plugins, and I don't want to be making content on every new plugin and every new theme, every builder that comes out. It doesn't really have the appeal to me. I want that consistency. Like I said, I really want that consistency across all my sites moving forward. Kevin says the biggest thing Gutenberg needs to fix ASAP is list view. You can't build a site efficiently without a proper structure panel. What are the criticisms you have with the list view specifically? I'd be curious because let's see. Let's see. Kevin. Taylor, I found a solution for creating lists with correct markup with generate blocks the other day. Container doesn't currently have UL or LI as options. Actually, yeah, that's something that I do miss compared to Oxygen, is the ability to set whatever HTML tag you wanted. You had the default, a couple of 6 or 8 options, and then you're able to then just set your own tag on those elements on the container specifically. I really feel like stuff like that there's an opportunity for someone who wants to build some kind of third-party add-on. The thing is, you can't. I really think that it's kind of foolish to build those sorts of things, even though I'm advocating for somebody to do it, because of the fact that it's going to change. You're going to get overwritten by core and by the native generate blocks, just like people that built copy and paste early on and click to rename in Oxygen. That stuff all became native eventually. Kevin, you can't label things in list view without affecting HTML. You can't keep the list view open. Yeah, you for sure can't label them, which I think is a huge oversight. I really think that you should absolutely be able to just double-click, rename. You can't keep the list view open? I'm not sure what you mean. I wanted to pull up a local site real quick and try to see what you mean, because I feel like I leave my list view open often. Let's see. See if I can get a local site fired up here quickly. If not, I'll just abandon the idea and come back to it later. Okay, I think this should have generate blocks. There it is. Activate pages. Can't keep your list view open. Maybe I'm misunderstanding what you mean, because this stays open for me. Heading, test, check. Open list view, set it to always visible, then add elements to the page. Add element panel overtakes list view. I think it stays open. I would be curious if you have an example, send me it on Loom or something on Discord. I'd love to see it. Because if you just click the little 3 bars at the top, it just stays open for me all the time. Closing the blocks panel makes the list view go away. Oh. No, it still does it for me. I can close the blocks panel. List view stays open. I need to see what you're seeing. Let's see if I can do this without borking. I'm going to pull up the stream on my phone real quick so I can see this because I think I set some hotkeys. 1 second. Oxygen 4.6 video is in my YouTube feed. Can I not see my own video? Live. Here we go. Oh, it's going to make me watch an ad on my own video. That's delightful. 1 second. I'm getting there. Okay. So hopefully, what did I do as my shortcut? Function F2. Let's see if that switched. Pro streamer. It's so difficult with one screen. There we go. Oh, wow, look at that. I am a pro streamer. Okay, so I have list view open, right? And then I close the blocks panel. Is this what you mean? So I'm like, hello, Kevin. And then I add some other stuff. I surely am just misunderstanding what you're saying because this is working fine for me. No, wrong panel. This is the list view. Block inserter. Plus. And then the add new block plus sign. Okay. Then if I want to go headline, I assume you must mean if I click browse all. Oh. Oh. Oh, yeah, that does blow. I see. I just never do it that way. The reason I don't do it is because all you have to do is no matter where you are, you can simply just click the element, press enter, new line, slash, and whatever you want. So there's just like pretty much no reason I never click that plus. I see why you don't, that's not ideal. I don't like that at all. Makes sense though. So it turns out I do have 2 screens if I just use my phone for chat. So don't use the plus. Why do you want to do it the right way? I would assume it's probably just like, I know for instance, like with my desktop at home, all I need to do is like my hand just like snaps to the right spots. Like you just get comfortable with where those UI elements are. And so like the plus, it's just like, just able to go whap right to the plus. So I probably imagine that's because that's how Oxygen and Bricks work. Aren't the panels flipped though in Bricks? Like your silent controls are on the left and your list views on the right. Is the plus still up here on the left like it is for Oxygen? Because the thing I was thinking about is like, I think you should just do it this way. If you use the plus in the canvas, you can't see all the blocks, and if you click see all, it creates the same problem. Yeah, I think that's fair. But I think the other thing is that like, with your, where is it, in tools, preferences and blocks, then it's like, the vast majority of these you should probably turn off anyway. Like you don't need any of those. If you're using generate blocks, you pretty much don't need any of these except like custom HTML pretty much, maybe short code. There's a whole lot of these you can turn off. And then like your little slash is going to be a heck of a lot more clean. Like, you're going to need one of maybe 5 or 6 elements in generate blocks, the headline, image, button. I see you have a valid point. Absolutely. That is a really silly piece of functionality. But I think for me, most of the time I just have this extended like that. And then I'm just going headline. Yeah, like that. Yeah. Why is there a separate block for embed? Good question. I don't know, especially because you can just take a YouTube URL and paste it in and it just works anyway. So it's like, that doesn't make any sense. Totally fair. Share some websites that you built using GP. Let me think what I can show. I mean, mine, obviously. What else? I was just looking. This is probably going to sound ridiculous, but I went to a barber for the very first time today. Got a little shape up, and I just looked down at my desk. There's just hair all over it. I didn't take a shower yet, but I guess when I was doing this earlier. Okay, let's go back to this. I think is what I want. Keyboard shortcuts are pretty handy for switching scenes if you don't have your Stream Deck handy. I don't use the Stream Deck enough, though. Yeah, Stratos, you're right. LastPass still is there, my man. The idea of switching is just like really not ideal. Switching all that stuff to something else. I mean, maybe if there's one that I'm just not familiar with that would be really easy. Surely one of those common password managers had some kind of easy switch over from LastPass. It's also just like, LastPass is definitely frustrating in some ways, in the ways just that it behaves. Like I updated a username on my phone yesterday, and then like even still today, it didn't make any difference on my computer. Still just the wrong one. It's like, how could that possibly be the case? VJ, I think the showcasing some sites that I built with GeneratePress is a great stream topic, and maybe I can get some other people to show them as well. Kind of gets a showcase going. That would be cool. Most of them are client sites, and I mean, quite honestly, they're not that interesting. You could do pretty much the same thing in Bricks or Oxygen or any builder. I think that's kind of the thing, is the vast majority of us are not building interesting sites anyway. Man, your site is fast. Thanks, dude. Let's see. Let me pull it up. I'll just show you the back end. See if I can just switch over here real quick. F1, 2. There we go. Oh, actually, let me switch back so I can log in real quick. Okay. Let's see. I think I should be able to get this situated. So, all right. This is me site. Everything is built using generate blocks, generate press. Got some lazy loading action going on here. This is the mega menu. Oh, sorry. I got a little notification that there was it held your message in chat, Kevin, because you said the word ass. That's ridiculous. This mega menu is built using generate blocks elements, but it uses a premium tutorial from Taylor Drayson, which is just some code to make this work. But I can show you in the backend what that looks like here in a second. So this is the stack. I am always behind on my plugin updates. I intentionally don't update things. I let them ride a little bit. So you can see my plugin stack is about 20. Accessibility new window warnings is something that I use quite a bit. Like if I go to, well, actually, let's see. This page doesn't have it. Generate made easy. Let's go here. So this just like gives you the little update, kind of like accessibility tweak that is going to open in a new page, which is why that's there. I also incorporated parity pricing. So that's something I'm trialing right now too. That's why this little thing is there, because I'm in Portugal right now. So, yeah, let's see. That's why that plugin is there. So ACF Pro, and I think the only way that I'm actually using ACF right now is for my posts. So I'm going to go to, let's see, we'll just go to like this one, edit. And then the reason why I have that is because a bunch of my old posts were using an ACF field. So I still have that here. I would like to have just incorporated it into an actual block, but it was too much hassle to go backward. So that's why I have ACF. This is pretty much the only place across my entire site that I'm using advanced custom fields these days. I used to use it pretty much religiously for absolutely everything. And there's just not really a reason to do that anymore with Generate Blocks. Block Visibility is a fantastic plugin. It just got even better because they took a lot of the stuff that was in a pro version and just made it free, which is incredible. Like for instance, if I go to, let's see, like this CSS made easy in the back end, it's just like oxygen conditions or bricks conditions. You can just simply select a container like this, and then down here in this visibility, this is added by that block visibility plugin. I have a query string on here that just says must have pre-cell equals ended. And then that shows up, which is why, when I browse to this page on the front end, you don't see it. But this block visibility plugin is flippin' incredible. There's so much stuff. Oh, I didn't mean to click preset. I meant to click this. There's so much stuff you can do. Date and time, locations, screen size, user roles like logged in, logged out, admin, all those kinds of things. This is a really incredible plugin. And like I said, it just got even better. Elastic Email Sender is an annoying Cloudways required plugin because sometimes the Elastic email sending is really, really frustratingly unresponsive or unreliable. I mean, even despite having an authenticated, SPF and DKIM records and all that kind of garbage. Yeah, VJ, I don't know why either. Yeah, Taylor, you're right. More plugins does equal slow speed for sure. Enlightener code syntax highlighter. I actually don't really use that anymore. There's just some old posts that I just haven't gone back to clean up. I just use the built-in code displayed. It's not that big of a deal. Don't need anything crazy. So I could probably get rid of this one relatively easily. Obviously, Generate Blocks Pro. GP Premium is the add-on for the premium features for the Generate Press theme. Then Gravity Forms. Shout out Taylor, Gravity Forms. I could do away with pretty much all of these other plugins. Oh, actually, no, Zero Spam I definitely need. Zero Spam is amazing. Pretty much eliminates all the spam. It does what it says on the 10, absolutely. Quiz add-on, I was testing that out for the CSS course. I decided not to go that route. I could in the future, but not right now. And then Perf Matters. So that's probably a good reason why this site is so fast is, of course, it's built on GPGB, but also with Perf Matters, I just have pretty much everything I can have turned on with Perf Matters on, and it makes this site just screaming fast. And then the rest of the stuff is pretty self-explanatory. Safe SVG, redirection, those are easy peasy. Short pixel image optimizer. I don't really have anything crazy going on with that, just automatically optimizing on upload. Slim SEO is something that I switched to recently because I was with, what was that plugin called? The WP MuDev. What was that thing called? Not Slim. It's another S. Smart Crawl. It was called Smart Crawl. Slim SEO is really good. I really, really like it. So the reason I use Smart Crawl is I just had that subscription to WP MuDev for so long, and it was really good. And it did everything that I need. It was super simple to set up. It was just like set up immediately on all of my sites. So I never really worried about it, but I really do feel like those plugins slowed down the site. And so I switched to Slim, and it's just so easy to use. There's almost no setup. So really, like, the thing is with Slim SEO, when I go into the setup on a new site, pretty much the only things that I turn off, funny enough, I haven't done it on my own site, is the RSS feed. Oh, actually, I haven't done it on this because Perf Matters disables the RSS feed. That's why I didn't do it. But all this stuff is, just pretty much good to go right out of the box. There's almost nothing that I change. I don't use any of these other tabs except, well, I guess I lied. I use the default Facebook image here for the social section. But for the most part, all this stuff is turned on, except I think one of these is off by default. I don't remember which one exactly, but it's just super easy. Slim SEO is really just dead simple. That's the reason I love it. I'm such a big fan of this plugin because there's no faffing about, as the Brits say. You just put it on and it just starts working. The other thing that I was concerned about with switching SEO plugins, and I know it's not really like a founded not necessarily found it, I should say, is SEO drop. The site gets a decent bit of organic SEO traffic, and so I was paranoid for a long time of switching plugins, but one day I was just like, I'm sending it. I don't really care. So I did it, and I didn't notice any difference. In fact, it seems like the site is as strong, if not stronger, than it was before. So I went ahead and made the jump. Oh yeah, that's the other thing, Adam, is a really good point. The content analysis garbage, that shit is just such a stupid, it's just like those things are absolutely garbage. So like all this has is meta title description and whether it's indexed or no index. So it's like, I don't need any of that content analysis garbage. There's so much other stuff baked into those SEO plugins that just is absolutely worthless. So that's another reason why I really like this, is it doesn't have some thing that's analyzing my content and it's saying, oh, there's a red circle. Oh no. When it's like, clearly this page ranks. Like there's nothing to worry about. I think majority are using rank math. Actually, that's a good question. How many active installs does Slim SEO have? Let's just type in SEO, see what there is. Yoast is 5 million, rank math is 1. All-in-one SEO is 3. Good Lord, these are such behemoth plugins. It's crazy. 3 different SEO plugins with over 1 million active installs. That's crazy. SEO Press is 200,000. Yeah, you need that green, totally. And then Slim is 20,000, but you can see it's decently well reviewed. Isn't this by the devs of Metabox? I mean, Tran is definitely part of Metabox, if I'm not mistaken. Plugins. Oh, holy crap, he has a lot. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the Metabox team, or at least one person from the Metabox team. So yeah, long story short, I am a big fan of Slim SEO. Last two are WP Grid Builder. I have 1 million videos on WP Grid Builder. I still love it. I use it in my tutorials, just this little search here. I did try to do some filters more than that. Did I not post the stream with Kevin to the site? Am I that much of an idiot? I guess I didn't. Sorry about that, Kevin. I know that that stream did incredibly well anyway. Oh, wait. Yeah, no, I didn't. I'm a total clown. Got some updating to do. Let's see. And then last but not least is WP Codebox, of course. So highly recommend WP Codebox. I don't use any functions.php or any other code plugins. It's all WP Codebox. I know. I slighted you, dude. Never again will we collab. Let's see. How do we get off on this topic? Oh yeah, I guess VJ just said the site was fast. So there's that. Let's see. I was missing out on chat a little bit as I was rambling. Let's see. Ben says, I wish I was here earlier. We'll check out the whole video later. Now I'm between Oxygen, Elementor, and hand-coded. I'm thinking about bricks, but I'm not ready for Gutenberg and friends yet. Yeah. I think it's a fair to assess between Oxygen and bricks what you feel like you'll need out of those two tools. They're both really great. Just decide which one of them has the better feature set for you. I think it would be worth spending some time to analyze which one has what feature and which doesn't. WP really should have basic meta title description OG baked in. Yeah, it's kind of silly that that's not there. Squirrel, for sure. VJ, what hosting stack? So the site is on a Vultr 4 GB high frequency server on Cloudways. More and more, I'm feeling the rumblings and like the switch from Cloudways is imminent. I really feel like that's coming soon. It's just like the recent news that you can't add Vultr servers to your account anymore. It's like the writing's on the wall. So I think the most likely scenario is probably switching to GridPane. For me, I want something that's just powerful, effective, doesn't have to be cheap. I mean, I think my hosting bill with Cloudways is like nearly $300 a month. So yeah, anyway. It's currently Vultr 4 gig high frequency server on Cloudways, but that will probably be changing at some point in the near future. I'm not sure yet. It's a whole undertaking because I don't have all the client domains on Cloudflare, so changing DNS is going to be a massive pain, but it will be something worth doing in the very near future, I believe. So we've rambled. We talked about a lot of different stuff. I know I didn't specifically answer what is the best builder because I don't think that wasn't the point from the outset. What I really wanted to do was just be talking about these different topics, sharing with you things to consider. I think the major decision factors that I have here written down is intuitiveness, what level of customization do you have, how much global control is there, because that's really critical, as Kevin would say, to an SCM site, scalable, what was the word, maintainable and consistent? Was that it? Is that what we decided SCM was? And then lastly was the investment, both in terms of time to get your head around the builder and really get proficient in it, and then also the money factor. How much other stuff are you going to have to buy in addition to that particular builder that you choose? So what I was going to do originally, like I said, is just kind of build a little like weighting scale. So you give a weight of 1 to 5 points to each section and something like that. But I think that this is pretty much universal no matter what the time is, what the fanciest builder is at that time. It's worth considering. Let's see. Adam says, thank you for the insight. By the way, your Oxygen course was great. Awesome. I'm really happy to hear that. Thank you. Arnaud says, where are you looking to go for hosting if you move away from Cloudways Vultr? I will keep Vultr servers because I'm really happy with them, and just use GridPane for kind of the server management interface. Yeah, exactly, Adam. That's what I'm going to have to do. Little CNAME flattening in Cloudflare. Exactly. That's going to make it a whole lot easier. It's not something I'm looking forward to, but I haven't had to move hosts since I signed up for Cloudways back in 2018, I believe. Possibly even 2017. I've been a customer of theirs for a very long time, and prior to that I was switching hosts what felt like every 3 months, 6 months for one reason or another. Gone are the days of me being interested in managing my own cPanel. No way. What I want to invite you to do is, if you're watching this and you have a specific question about builders or anything like that, you can join my Facebook group and ask those questions in there. I still don't have a good name. I haven't changed the name of the Facebook group. It's still called Permaslug WordPress Professionals, which doesn't really fit, but I'm struggling to come up with a good name for it. It's a tough one. So if you have any input on that, definitely do that. You can find the link. Let me make sure I'm not speaking out my arse real quick. Where is it? Oh, I need to add it to my footer on the site. Oh, actually it is. You can find the link to the Facebook group in the footer of my website. So feel free to ask questions in there. You can also send me an email. This is something I'm considering doing, this inbox series. If you have a specific question and I find that it warrants more discussion, more insight, then this is definitely something we're going to do. So coming up on an hour and a half here. We're hungry. I know I haven't gotten the side-eye yet from my lady, but it's coming. So we're going to go find some food here in Portugal, and then I'll be home back at my laboratory for the streams next week. Coming up in the near future, I'm trying to get Elijah on, so hopefully 2 weeks from now we'll have Elijah, and then any follow-up questions perhaps we'll do in another stream. In the meantime, just want to say thank you all for hanging out. It's been a really great hour and a half. Drop a like on the stream before you dip. But as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in... Oh, he has a webcam on the way. Yes! Let's go! Peace out, everybody.